Hello, class. How are you? Hope you're doing great. Staying healthy and staying well. I know it's pretty rough right now with this dreary, rainy weather, but next week, some good weather to come, some sun, get back up in those 70s so we can get outside a bit, get some fresh air and some sun on our body. All right, so today we're going to be covering our final poster assignment, and I'm going to be reviewing that. Hopefully, all of you have already gone on Blackboard under course documents and have familiarized yourself with the poster template and a couple examples that I've provided you as well. So hopefully when I start reviewing it, this will all make sense. I'm also going to provide you with a place to write down any questions that you might have regarding this assignment so that I can address them to each of you, or if many people are asking the same question, I can address it to the entire class with a Blackboard announcement. All right, so let's get started checking out the poster template. I'll talk you through it. I also created a checklist for you that I will be posting to Blackboard to help you really go through and make sure that you're doing everything you need to get a great grade on this assignment. All right, let's check out the actual assignment and let's go ahead and go through it. Okay, so this is the template here for our poster assignment. You're gonna wanna go ahead and download this from Blackboard and save it. And when you open it, it may look super tiny like it is here. So on the lower right area, you're gonna want to increase the size of this document so that you're able to write into it. You're not gonna wanna change any of the sizes or dimensions. Just go down here to view and increase the size so that you're able to read all the content that's within the poster. Okay, so first thing that you want to go through on this checklist is you're going to go ahead and create a title. It can be a unique title. It could be something that relates to your participant. It's going to pretty much sum up what the past experience of the MDC has been like for you and for your participant. So you're going to come in here, delete title here, and then type motor development clinic positively impacts participants' motor skills. All right, perfect. Now, for the most part within this template, you really do not want to change any of the font, any of the sizes of the font, or anything like that. If you want to get super creative, you can click on the box here. And if you want to change the color to be really creative, you can go ahead and change the color and make it unique to you. You don't have to do that. That's really up to you if you want to, add some creativity, got some time on your hand and you want to make it a little bit different. But for the most part, you're going to be keeping everything relatively the same. After we have the title, we're going to go on and change your name to your actual name here. So let's go ahead and put good old Billy Bronco in there. And again, if you want to change the background color, you can on this, or you can just keep it as is. Next thing after that is you're going to go ahead and complete your introduction and purpose. Now here, this is the text box. That doesn't mean I only want you to type just what's in this text box. As we go ahead and type, it's going to extend all the way down, and I want you to fill this entire area. That doesn't mean going up to font and changing this font that's already pretty large if we were to get these posters printed, to a huge font to fill that in. I want you to keep it where it was originally, okay? So you have information to fill out on here. So what are some things that you should be thinking about for your introduction and your purpose? One, you're going to talk about your participant. And a really, really important thing is that you are not going to use your participant's name. You're going to develop what's called a pseudonym, okay? So if your participant is Ethan, you are going to talk about this individual with a different name. That's just to provide confidentiality. If for some reason This poster, got lost within the World Wide Web. It wouldn't really ever be able to go back directly to our participant. So you're going to want to make sure that you make up a name and utilize that name for your participant. So you're going to discuss your participant here. Any information that you may have about their disability, about the school they go to, about how long they've been coming to the MDC. And I know many of you may be thinking, I do not know this information. I do not have this information. Well, you then need to reach out to their parent. I've been providing the parent's email address as I've been sending out each of your videos that you've been taping for the MDC. I will be emailing all the parents, letting them know that you are working on your poster assignment and that you may be asking some information, some sensitive information about the MDC participant only for the purposes of our final poster. And just know that parents have the opportunity, if you ask them a question, to not provide you an answer. We don't really need to get that specific. Some things you might want to ask them about are, could you provide me a little bit about their disability? Could you provide me information on what services are being provided to your child at home or at school? Are they receiving OT, PT, maybe speech? Are they getting adaptive physical education? Do they go to general physical education? Maybe some behavior support? And maybe asking the parents what their goal of the MDC is for their child. And then also asking them how many years they've been attending the motor development clinic. All of that information will give you really a good area of space to really introduce your participant here. The next thing you're going to do is provide an introduction of your participant's skills. So talk about their skills, talk about what you're focusing within this skill. Then you're going to kind of explain what their purpose of the MDC program is. And this is really your perspective, or if the parent provides you some of their perspective on what are we trying to get out of this MDC program for that specific participant. The other part of this is that you need to gather some research, some resources on either their disability or on their skills that you're teaching. So let's say that your participant has a disability, which is autism. So you might go onto the Cal Poly Library and search autism and physical education and look up some peer-reviewed journal articles that provide you some insight about physical education and children with autism, right? If you don't get specifically what their disability is, then just look up some of their skills. Maybe they have fitness skills. So go ahead and look up some articles about physical fitness and physical education, or adaptive physical education and fitness. So as you're writing about your participant, their skills, the program, I want you to cite within the introduction and purpose, cite 3 resources. And those resources are later going to be documented under your references here. So remember, for APA, for citing, we're going to put the author's name. If there's more than one author, we're going to put a comma. The next author, comma, and the last author. And then we're going to put the year that journal was published. Okay, and that's how we're going to do in-text citation for that. So moving on past the introduction and purpose, we're going to go into the methods section here. And the methods section, we're really going to talk about our pre-assessment. So what we did for our present level performance. So this investigation involved collecting and analyzing data from the current semester on the MDC participants' 4 skills. Some of you have 5 skills, which were, and you can list the skills. And then you're going to talk about what were you measuring and assessing within those skills, maybe some different components, maybe what was their present level of performance for each of those skills. So I can provide you copies of each of your present levels if you'd like that. Just email me if you don't have your rough draft copies at home, and I can provide you that. So you're just going to give some insight on where did your participants start at the very beginning of this semester on those skills. You're going to talk about instruments and measures. Each skill has certain components that should be obtained and properly performed in order for the MDC participant to achieve a mature form. So you could talk about, are you focusing on the process of the skill, the product of the skill? Is this the first time? This is a new skill for them. Have they been working on this skill? Right? So just give us a little bit of background about where they are on that skill. You're going to then type in here, spring semester, update that to 2020. You're going to list each one of the skills, right? So you can be specific about it, or you can be general and just say, soccer, pass, or you can provide some additional information about that actual skill. And for some of you that have 5 skills because you're working on potentially 2 different fitness skills, just go ahead and add skill 5 to your method. Now, the next part is your results, and your results are going to be looking at some graphing that you're going to do. So here in this example, if we were to complete the entire semester, what they did here is they showed what level out of the components of the present level performance, how many components did they have in the beginning of pre-testing. So they had 7. The total target was 13, and then they had 7 come at the end of the semester. Well, we didn't get a chance to do post-testing. So we can report what their pre-test was and then what their target is. And then later on in the conclusion implications, you could talk about where you would predict if you were able to do a post-test that they would be performing based upon your last week of the assessment sheet. So you're going to use data and you're going to provide data in graphs. And the examples I have provide different ways to show data. You can do data per skill based upon your assessment sheet of those objectives and whether or not they met an objective or not. You could do it based upon supports, or you could do it based upon components of the skill. So there's many different ways that you can really provide results of why did your teaching or why did this MDC have an impact on their performance. The next part is conclusion implication. So you're going to talk here about what did the results mean? Where do you think your participant would have finished if they continued instruction for the remaining MDC sessions? In the future or for next semester, what are some recommendations that you have? Do you think that another skill should be added? Should they keep a skill? What should be focused on within that skill? And then you can also provide some overall reflection of your experience teaching within this conclusion and implications area. And the last thing is your references. You're going to have them be in APA format, and a minimum of 3 are required. So make sure that you're using APA formatting and go ahead and list your references here. Okay, now what I would like to do is just pull up some examples and show you some different ways that people in the past have completed this assignment. Now, if we were still in face-to-face and actually completing this, what you would do is we would actually get these posters printed, and then in lieu of a final exam, we would do a poster symposium where each of you would stand explaining your poster to other peer classmates and also to other special education students that we combine for a poster presentation research symposium. But because we are not face-to-face and we're online, for the final poster, you're just going to submit your final poster to Blackboard. So this is the final poster checklist I'm going to upload to Blackboard for you. Remember, the completed draft is due on the 26th. Before midnight, you're going to email that to me. The final version is due May 4th by 5 p.m. You're going to submit that to Blackboard. Okay, and I have the link here for questions that are related to the assignment, and then I really kind of spell out everything you need to do in a checklist here. So I'll be submitting this to Blackboard for you so that you can go ahead and kind of check yourself off as you're completing the assignment. But now let's go ahead and check out some examples that we have related to completed posters. Okay, so this is a first example that's submitted on Blackboard. So I'm going to go ahead and enlarge it so you can see it a little bit better. I deleted the people's names to keep confidentiality for them. So they inputted their title here, and then they provided their introduction and purpose. And you can see some references that are being provided here, right? So any of these are references throughout. So they talk a little bit in general about autism and about physical education and movement. Then they start getting into their specific participant. They talk about how they are responding, what's the purpose of the MDC, and then they go on to talk about their skills as part of their introduction. And then method here, they talk about their skills again, how they were assessed, the weekly assessments, different levels of support. They then go on about measurements and how measurements are being used. They wrote down the skills of the participant, and for their results, what they did is they actually went through and broke it down by week and then by levels of support based upon their assessment sheets. So we could do that. We should have 4 to 5 weeks, and it showed each of the 4 skills and then at what level of support were they performing. And so really, we would like to see this kind of flip the other way, where it's going from a high level of support, and as they're gaining more independence, then we're going to a lower level of support here. So this is one way that you can chart your results. Conclusion and implications, for next semester, they put some recommendations, talking about support levels here. And then you can see the references that are provided below. So let's go ahead and look at another example that was provided. So again, develop their own title up above. Talks about the participant, past and present, what they do outside of the MDC. Talks about their disabilities that they have. The method is broken down into skills, what they're working on within each of those skills, and what was the focus. For their graphs, they looked at, again, pre-test, post-test, and then what the goal of the skill was for each of them. And again, we don't have post-test, but we do have their pre and what the goal of the skill is, the total amount of components. So we could write that down. Here, what they looked at is weekly progression of how many skill criteria they've obtained throughout the weeks. So you can see for sit-ups here, sit-ups, they started at 7. So here's week 1, they're at 7, they went up 8, 9, 9, 10, 11, and their end result was 11 out of 13 criteria. So they showed a graph of pre-post levels together, and then also how they kind of progressed throughout, which is really cool to see, because you can see that this individual progressed on obtaining components of each of the skills throughout the weeks of the MDC. Again, conclusions and implications. Talked about overall, what did they learn, what was occurring on those skills, and then by the end of the semester, and then they have the 3 references here that are in APA formats. So one other example I want to show you is when you submit your draft completed poster, when I send it back to you, this is what it's going to look like. So you're going to see these little kind of speech bubbles throughout your poster, and this is going to be feedback that I'm providing. So if I make it a little bit larger, I will highlight some areas in red if I fixed information there, or if I made any edits to your paper so that you could see that. You then go ahead and click on the actual speech bubbles, and it will pull up all of my comments. So for this one here that's related to this reference, I say review APA guidelines. If you're using a quote, you need to have a page number. And so they are quoting this right here. And so I need to see a page, dot, and the number. And even if it's a website, right, we need to be providing a specific source for that. Right here, I make another comment, right? They haven't added the year, so I wrote that in. You have to have the author and the year for your reference. The next one down here, once you click it, it highlights it red, right? So reword this statement to be more positive, maybe talk about level of supports that is needed for him to be successful. So I'll give you a bunch of different, edits throughout. So it's up to you to go ahead and click each one of these and see what feedback I'm providing you. Sometimes I'll go ahead and fix it and highlight it red. So make sure for your final, you get rid of all the red text. And other times I will actually just provide you with feedback that you then have to make the changes. So after you submit your your draft of your poster, I'll go through and provide comments throughout, do some different adjustments, and then go ahead and email it back to you so then you can fix all the edits prior to submitting your final version. Okay, so what I want to do is provide you with an opportunity that if you would like to ask any further questions, I have this here on the screen. So this is a QR code. You're going to go ahead and take your phone and go to your photos, and then you can go ahead and put your phone up to that QR code, and then it's going to come up here on your phone and say open forms.gle in Safari. You're going to press that, and it is a Google form I made for you to submit any questions that you have regarding this final poster assignment. I will then answer those questions and email you back. Or if many people are asking the same one, I will put the questions and answers on our Blackboard announcement. So go ahead and scan that and be able to use that to ask any questions. Also on the checklist, I also have the link. So if you instead want to just use the link, you can go ahead and use the link within the checklist, which is provided here. So you're just going to click this link, and it's then going to take you to the Google form. I'll go ahead and pull up that Google form so you see what it looks like. So here's the Google form here. You're going to write your name so I can get back to you exactly. If you have questions regarding format, poster content, result graphs, APA format references, you're going to type in not your answer. This is actually going to be your question. And then any additional questions that you might have, type them in here. And then I'll compile all the questions and start writing answers back for each of you. All right. So again, good luck on your final poster. Please use this form here to ask any questions that you have. And also reach out to the parents and ask them questions to gain more information about your participants, to look up research needed for your introduction and purpose, and also to be able to provide a much better spectrum of who that participant is. And remember, you're going to make up a name and use that name throughout the poster to keep confidentiality of our participants. All right, excellent. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to stop the recording, and I'm actually going to make a new video as I talk about the physical fitness 10-minute video assignment. So that will be a separate online lecture about that. All right. Thanks.